Welcome to Story Punk. I am Scott.
I am Drew.
And today on Story Punk, we are going to talk about the movie Marty Supreme.
That's true. We are gonna. I watched. That's the one I watched. So I'm glad we're gonna talk about it.
I know it's so convenient that we did that.
And I admit I was a little confused because this is a very unexpected sequel to the movie Marty.
Yeah.
With Ernest Borgnine, which I haven't seen in a long time, but is a lovely little movie, and this went in some unexpected directions.
Did Marty won Best Picture, right?
I don't know if it won Best Picture. He won Best Actor. I can look it up. I have access to the internet here. Hang on.
I can't remember.
I won't ask AI because it'll just make up stuff. So.
It'll be like, good question, great question. Yeah. Marty, such an underrated gem.
You know, I was doing some stuff on ChatGPT, like asking it to help me set up like some kind of schedule or something, nothing that needed actual knowledge for. And I actually told it, I said, can you stop kissing my ass every time I ask a question? It's very disturbing.
I think there's settings you can go in and have.
Well, if you just tell it to do that, it was like, oh, I'm sorry. And then I said, don't be so apologetic. Just please answer my questions. And I said, please, because I'm treating it like a person. So already I'm doomed.
Yes.
Ugh.
Anyway. So the movie Marty Supreme, I had to forget we're not doing our little pre-recording just like back and forth here.
Wait, hold on. Just to answer, Marty won Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, and Best.
Oh, it's one of those types of movies that did the picked up a whole bunch.
Delbert Mann won the Best Picture and Best Director.
Wow.
Ernest Borgnine won Best Actor, and Patty Chayefsky. I heard of him.
I've heard of him.
Best
Yeah,
Screenplay.
I've heard of him.
It's also the shortest film ever to win Best Picture.
What
which
was
is something worth emulating.
Hey, look, I just want a movie to be as long as it needs to be. That's
what I think.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there are movies that I'm like, this is a very good movie. I don't know why it was 20 minutes longer than it needed to be. But there are movies that are long that I don't have a problem with.
I do feel like some movies you're like, know the medium that you're this isn't a book, this isn't a TV show, it's a movie. Mm-hmm. Like when they released the 4-hour version of Justice League. Now I watched it, but it was just like, I'm sitting there watching, like, did you? Like, this didn't need to be 4 hours. I mean, there's some interesting stuff, and just because there are certain things that are interesting. And actually, speaking of that, that's actually very relevant to this movie because there's something that I want to talk about in the editing process that they did for this movie.
Okay.
And just about being like smart about like and being ruthless when it comes to editing. You have to be. Mm-hmm.
That'll actually be a big part of our discussion for our next episode too.
Sure. So anyway, the movie Marty Supreme is about Marty Mauser, who is a young man who's obsessed with pursuing this dream of greatness in the world of professional international table tennis. And it was directed by Josh Safdie, who is one half of the Safdie brothers, who is going solo. We actually we did an episode on Smash
Benny.
Machine.
Yep.
Yes.
They both had big movies this past year aimed at awards, and one of them got that attention, and one of them did not.
I mean,
but they both got Story Punk attention.
Yes, they did. But I mean, I will say, without tipping my hand too much at this point, I do feel like this is a better movie.
I agree.
Yeah,
it's certainly more kinetic
for different for different reasons. But I do think. Overall, this was a better movie on many different levels. I think some of the thematic takeaways that, at least this was what I felt like after watching this, was that it's a sort of the destruction or sort of like the destruction that sort of takes place at the cost of reckless ambition, and how that the ambition, like when you become obsessed with it, is almost becomes like a sickness. Because I mean, definitely he is so obsessed. He is narrowly focused, and I do feel like Marty, that is, at just becoming great at table tennis. And I do feel like, especially nowadays, I think that's something that's very sort of celebrated to be like, focused. Like you see it online, influencers talking about it, like this laser focus on being successful. And I mean, hey, look, there's nothing wrong with being focused and really pursuing a dream, like, but I think I feel like maybe there needs to be a balance. But I guess there's also the other end of the other side of the argument, that it's like, well, if these people weren't this way, if they weren't so obsessive, then maybe they wouldn't achieve.
This is a period film set in the 50s about what especially we would think of today as a niche sport.
Yes.
But it's about
A
human
niche.
themes, for thousands of years of writing and storytelling and everything. I mean, it's whether you like Marty or not, whether you like the movie or not, it's what motivates him and what makes him make the choices that you could look at those choices and go, wow, that's really shitty, or I get it. Like, it's all relatable, which I thought was good, because to me, this movie, it was immediately clear that it was by a director of Uncut Gems, because I liked Uncut Gems. I don't ever need to see it again. It wasn't like Uncut Gems was really cranking up the tension to an unbearable point. I also found out when I watched that movie that Kevin Garnett, who played the basketball player was his jewelry customer, is a real basketball player. I had no idea. He was a really good actor, and I thought he was good.
You really didn't know he was a basketball player before?
Not really.
I mean, that's okay. I mean,
I'm not going to apologize.
To be honest, I don't. Well, no, I didn't want you. I didn't want you to think I was disparaging you.
You can disparage me. My favorite Baltimore Oriole is still Len Cicada.
Oh, okay.
Because on his baseball card, he wore glasses like I did.
No, well, you know what? Here's a funny thing. I'll tell you a quick aside about Len Cicada. And that is that when I was a kid and when the Orioles were on their 1983 run to the World Series.
I remember that, yeah.
They did
the last time.
I know, you're really poor Orioles. But they did a locker room interview, and they were after I think it may have been like the finals before the series that was right before they were going to go to the World Series, and they were all drinking their champagne. They were all drunk, and they interviewed Len Cicada, and Len Cicada said, "Excuse me, I have to go breastfeed my daughter."
That's good.
I'll never forget that. I think I was 83. I was like in middle
really
school,
funny.
And that was
I do not remember.
That was talk about a niche. Anyway,
no, but what I was saying is, like, because Uncut Gems also has a really very thoughtful, deliberate look and vibe and energy. And so does this movie.
Yeah.
The Smashing Machine has, I think, a similar look, the way that it's kind of its darkness and the way that it plays with shadows and the starkness of some of the way that literally the way that they film people. But this is, I'm not going to say Uncut Gems was more this Safdie or that Safdie. I have no idea.
Sure.
But they are both making their own movies now. And this feels more like a descendant of the people who did Uncut Gems, which is not a criticism. It just feels
it's definitely darker.
Well,
it's darker than Smashing Machine for sure.
Well, yeah, but also Smashing Machine is like a different vibe about equally driven people and all that kind of stuff that didn't really work for me.
Yeah.
So this was, for at least the first half of it, was a more compelling experience for me.
Well, yeah, there is this idea also. Is sort of, I guess, kind of pairing with that idea of this reckless ambition and how you don't care what you're. I'll give the example of this is the one thing I tell my young son, who when he wants something, and I'm talking about the physical thing. Mm-hmm. He will go to grab it, and he doesn't. There's things in the way, and he knocks all the shit. He just did this last night. He wanted something off of the shelf, and there was things in front of it, and he grabs it, and he knocked all the shit all over the floor. He didn't care. He got what he wanted. Yeah. And I feel like that's a good metaphor for this movie, where it's like he's knocking into shit. He is like metaphorically just he has the thing that he wants to obtain, and all this other stuff that he's this mayhem and chaos that he's causing in the wake of that it doesn't really matter in a sense. I mean, it matters when it causes him actual physical pain or mental anguish, but that's the only reason. If it doesn't affect him directly, he doesn't care.
But if it does cause him pain or anguish, does that stop him from doing it again?
No,
that's
doesn't.
Definitely Marty Supreme. He runs into similar kinds of problems, some of which he's made for himself over and over.
Oh yeah,
and it doesn't change.
And it's sort of like this idea of like it's almost like there's like a toxicity to the idea of like being driven by purpose, where that when you're obsessed, it's almost like it's not like some people are like, oh, what a great thing to be so laser focused, but it's like that it's also it can be like a prison, that you're so obsessed that you can't you almost can't do anything else. You become so hyper focused on that thing that you want that you are devoid of even empathy, which he doesn't have this guy does not have a whole lot of empathy about anything. And even when he does, he got he goes about it so wrong. Like even
well, you even think in this movie there's a whole storyline with a dog.
Yeah.
That you're like, is this happening because he's actually kind of worried about the dog?
Yeah.
Because 2 scenes ago he seemed like he didn't give a shit about the dog. It's weird. It's like, are we?
Well, you do wonder.
But then that blossoms into spoilers. That blossoms into the end of the movie when he sees his child and then starts weeping, which I thought was actually kind of the most like Hollywood ending version type of thing you could have given him.
Well, it kind of gives you you're like, oh, okay, maybe this guy is. Well, I'll get more into it, but it does make you.
I was kind of surprised that it didn't, and I understand it's not like they've ignored this. And Safdie, the director, basically said it's not an adaptation of this book. It's not an adaptation of this man's life. It's
was it
the vibe
Marty
of Marty Reisman,
right,
yeah, who's like a Frank Abagnale type of I'm a hustler, I'm a con man.
Oh,
Catch Me If You Can, that kind of stuff. And I think. God, I haven't seen that movie in a long time. That's a really good movie. Christopher Walken is really good in that movie too.
Yeah.
But it's
he impressed Steven Spielberg, and that's something.
That is
if
something.
you can impress a guy like that.
That is something. But I think for whether or not anybody knows who Marty Reisman is when they go into this movie, and I'm not going to pretend I knew anything about him other than he was
Marty Reisman.
Well, I knew he was like a con man, Abagnale type of figure, and it was ping pong or something. I couldn't have told you when he was competing or any of that kind of stuff. But I mean, this feels. It feels, this movie has good world building of a specific era of New York, of Jewish New York, of an era of prosperity and racism and culture in this country. It's and then post-war Japan and all this kind of stuff. It's all really vivid, and I think that is also more effective than the Smashing Machine.
Yeah,
because the world is much bigger, and he pulls it off.
I do like that. And there's also this idea, and this is something that we see. I think we see it a lot today. This idea of your this myth making and self promotion, especially self promotion in the sort of this the post war capitalism or just capitalism in general. Even though some people will say, "Hey, we're in late stage capitalism now," but I mean, just existing within capitalism as it is, that this idea of this myth making and self promotion is almost like a survival skill. This is something that you can do to make a living. By sort of promoting yourself, even to the point where it's almost absurd. It is almost like a survival skill to promote yourself in this way. And I do feel like thinking of it as survival, it definitely was a survival mechanism for Marty. I mean, I think he's doing all this stuff, and he's staying at the Ritz. He's giving these crazy, outlandish interviews. Mm-hmm. It is a sort of a survival for him, because it's what else does he doesn't have anything else.
Well, also I think he's running from what a lot of people can relate to or be afraid of, which is a boring life.
Yeah.
Now you can also say, well, what does that actually mean? What is a boring life? What does that mean? And whatever you think that means at 22 is going to mean something different at 42. Uh-huh. And so he has both the lack of worldly knowledge of a young man and also the lack of wisdom and the lack of the knowledge that he could learn more about it. He's got it figured out. This is what I'm here for. This is what I can do, all this kind of stuff. And, Marty Reisman turned out to be somebody that was as much here for being a champion ping pong player as for telling his story and, becoming known for that story. Frank Abagnale pulled off cons, but then he wrote books about how to pull off cons, and he helped the FBI find people who were cons until Steven Spielberg made a movie about him. That's layers upon layers upon layers. But you can't say Marty Reisman or Abagnale, Frank, right? Abagnale Jr. You can't say either of them had a boring life.
No,
that
true.
Doesn't mean I don't want their lives.
No,
But I think that the to me, there's a difference between ambition and obsession. So my first, I've been there more than once, but my first weightlifting competition was at York Barbell, which is just up over the border in Pennsylvania from here. And when you compete at York, it's like a little stadium, and it even has a broadcast booth and stuff, because there was this ambition that Bob Hoffman, who built York Barbell and brought all this Olympic weightlifting into American consciousness in the middle of the last century and all this incredible stuff. He was like, this is going to be like football. This is going to be a sport that people watch on television. So we'll build like a world-class AV broadcast facility, blah, blah, blah. That didn't happen, but that didn't destroy Bob Hoffman's life.
Sure.
Like, he had other things. This guy is more like one of my favorite movies, which is Fitzcarraldo, where there's a guy who wants to build an opera house in the jungle in South America. And that on its face is completely ridiculous. But he does and not only is he going to build an opera house, it's going to bring the greatest opera singers in Europe and in the world to perform. And like, as I'm saying it, you're like, that's ridiculous. But he does it to the point where, and that's how Werner Herzog made the movie. He drags an actual steamship over a mountain from one river to another, all this kind of crazy stuff. That's closer to this guy, because this guy will literally do anything.
Yeah.
And because he does that, when he does something like when he steals jewelry that turns out to be costume jewelry, you almost feel like, ha ha, but then he takes it and then he comes back and he's like, I felt really bad, I stole this and all this kind of stuff. And then the person he's trying to con sees right through him, but then fucking does what he wants anyway. So he's very compelling. And I think Timothée Chalamet is really great in this role. I don't think he's a great actor in everything that I've seen him in. I like seeing him develop, because I'm kind of feeling like Robert Pattinson, like Robert Pattinson in Twilight. There's something more here.
Yeah.
And he's proven that. And Timothée Chalamet has proven that he's more than just like some cute, skinny kid or whatever. And this was an interesting role, but I'm not surprised that it didn't win. I don't think it won any Oscars. It won nine nominations, but it didn't win any Oscars. It didn't clean up on that stuff. But
I think something else that we see in this movie is that the idea, when we're talking about ambition, is that there is this and I think this is I don't know if it's uniquely American, but I'm American, so I'm going to say it's uniquely American. An American
that's part
males,
of being American, man.
Yeah, I know. American. That's pretty American thing for me to say. An American male's Arrested Development, but under the guise of ambition, and I think we see that in a lot of movies. I think we see that Nightcrawler, which we did. Movies like Citizen Kane, Wall Street.
I've never heard of that.
Wall Street, The Wolf of Wall Street, especially The Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about Arrested Development. You even and There Will Be Blood, and this of course is based on a real person, The Social Network. You see those types of movies that where it's just like, it's sort of like their lack of empathy. It's like it is sort of like there's an immaturity, but it's like you're like, but it's okay because they're going for what they believe in, and they're like that. It's like I almost feel like they're trying to. This is my take on it. It's almost like they're trying to. Let me be clear. I don't think the movie's trying to make an excuse. I think the movie recognizes this.
Yeah, portrays it.
That they're saying that it's okay because of what they're trying to do. That they're trying to excuse it, and I don't think that Josh Safdie's trying to. I think Josh Safdie recognizes that, and he's kind of putting it out there to say, this is actually not okay.
Whether you think it's okay or not, it's a very compelling story to tell.
Yes,
that's what he wants to do, and I think that's what he did. I did not see that until I watched this movie for this episode. I didn't see it in the theater or anything.
Yeah,
it was one of those movies. Like I wasn't like, I'll never see that. I just didn't get around to seeing that.
I know. Yeah, I wanted to. It was like one of those.
I had to see Predator Badlands again.
Of course. This and the sort of like this movie is, and I kind of feel like this is similar to the episode that we'll do next week on Wonder Boys, and we have the it's basically the story. It's not necessarily a tightly constructed plot so much as it is just a series of escalating misadventures that just keep kind of like things keep happening to the protagonist. A lot of which,
except instead of like 48 hours, it's like 2 years. Or whatever.
But it's like it's definitely obviously the main character is the one that's initiating, or is the one that's putting a lot of this into motion. But it's sort of like those things are happening, and that's sort of what's compelling and makes you want to watch it. Because, I mean, I'll be honest, this character is. I don't like, and I don't think we're supposed to like.
He's a
Marty.
dick.
He's a dick, and I almost feel like I was compelled to watch it because the same way. And this. I got a lot of like, and I don't know if you felt this way, but I got a lot of like, I don't know how to describe novel vibes, as in like when I read a book, I felt like I was reading a book, and I think it's because you have like these little like mini adventures that are kind of, I mean, they're all adding up to something. It's not like they're just like,
no, it's definitely,
they're not like random vignettes.
It's definitely episodic, and it's not like it's only about the last game in the movie or something.
It made it feel like chapters to me, and I was thinking about like as each thing that happens to him, like it reminded me of something. Like when I'm reading a book and there's a villain in the book that's just so awful, and you're almost only compelled to keep going in the book because you just want to see the villain get it.
Yeah.
I felt this way about this movie, except I wanted to see Marty. I want him to get hit with the karma bus, like big time, because he's such an asshole, and it's such a unique way.
He kind of does, and we'll talk about that. But.
Yeah. I'm not denying that, but it's like it was such a unique way to kind of engage me as a viewer of this movie, where it was like I'm hoping the protagonist something jams him up because he's getting he's so annoying, and I think it's also. No, I shouldn't say annoying. Annoying is not the right word. It's just that he is so.
He's very abrasive.
Yes. I think abrasive is better than I feel like annoying.
I mean, like if you watch the TV show, The Shield with Michael Chiklis, that's a guy who is a villain.
Yeah.
He's a cop, and so cops are supposed to be fighting, lawbreakers and arresting people who are doing wrong and blah blah blah. And he does some of that, but he's greedy and he's out for himself and all these kinds of things. And especially in the later seasons, and the whole show is just really excellent. But in the later seasons, they end up with like, okay, Forrest Whitaker's here, and he's the guy that's going to bring him down. And Glenn Close is here, and she's one. And you end up with this Michael Chiklis, who is a terrible person, like a really terrible person. And by the time you get to the end of the season, you're like, how is he going to get out of this?
Yeah.
But you want him to.
Yeah.
I never really wanted Marty to win anything.
I was like, I can't wait. I can't wait till he gets
just
it.
A dick.
And the thing about it is that I think something else that this shows that I think is sort of, I shouldn't say unique, but it is definitely something that makes you, like I said, I constantly felt like this movie was like, upon reflection after watching it, it's not something I'm necessarily thinking about, but upon reflecting after watching it, is that you're engaging in this movie. It's just a different way than a lot of movies, the way they're laid out, and that is it's showing the audience that this making sacrifices in the name of achieving something isn't always noble. And most movies are set up that way, where it's like the person is making all these sacrifices to achieve this one goal, and it's what a great thing. And this is like, in this case, it's very narcissistic, sometimes needless. Like the things that he was doing, you're like, come on, man. Like, like you don't have to do it.
Well,
this
later
way.
when we talk about the ending, I think, I mean, you don't necessarily come at it this way at first, but it's a sports movie. But it's got a very specific kind of sports movie ending, which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because it plays with a bunch of different genres at once. But it's it's a character study, it's a sports movie, it's all these different things. But we've been talking about this for 25 minutes. Hey, Scott, what is the movie Marty Supreme about?
I said it at the beginning.
But I mean, is it really about ping pong at all? Because I felt like as we were watching it, I was going to learn more about like the world of ping pong and stuff. But then it stops being about ping pong for like 45 minutes.
No,
it's weird because I don't know.
Well,
maybe
it's
that's
about-
really the episodic stuff you were talking about.
Yeah,
it just
it's-
really kind of pushes
yeah.
it into that, I think.
Because, but well, I mean, I think what I said in the beginning was that it's about some this young man obsessively pursuing the dream, and I think that's what it's about more than it's about the world of professional international table tennis. So I think it's like emphasis is really on the beginning part of the summary that I was saying, because it is like you said, because some people say it's a sports movie, but I don't think I don't remember. I can't say this for sure. I think Josh Safdie said it's not a sports movie. I could be wrong about that. I mean, has sports. It's like a movie that has sports in it, but it's not necessarily a sports movie.
Did you see Challengers?
No, I did not see Challengers.
I mean, that is a movie about tennis.
Yeah.
Is that a sports movie, or is it really a movie about jealousy, and are these two guys going to fuck Zendaya or each other first, or all three of them, or whatever? And it's not the same as watching a movie about somebody who wants to win the big game.
Yeah.
And they work hard to make it to the big game, and then they win the big game. And those are both movies about sports, but Challengers is, I think, closer to this.
Yeah.
Because the thing is also, Challengers has some really fascinating stuff. The way that they weave the sport of tennis into the movie, and there are matches that matter, and they drive the story forward, and even the way that they're shot. Like, by the time you get to the last match of the movie, he's got the camera. Luca Guadagnino has the camera underneath the court, as if you're looking up through it, and it's transparent, watching it, and the camera's on the ball and all this kind of stuff. I'm not saying it's bad that Marty Supreme didn't do that with the sport, but I never really found the sport, like a match, compelling.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care about, I don't watch football.
Yeah.
I love football movies, and some of what I love about football movies and football TV shows like Friday Night Lights and stuff is the games are very exciting. And ping pong, they never really. You can make anything exciting in a movie if you do it right.
I mean,
and that wasn't
like,
that was like I wanted to, like, Marty Supreme wants to be famous. Marty Mauser wants to be famous. He wants to be Supreme. He wants to be all these things. Yeah. But it almost was like, well, it was ping pong, but it could have been blackjack, or it could have been painting, or it could have been.
Well, I felt
anything.
like that.
That's not a criticism, by the way.
I felt like the match in the middle of the movie was more exciting than the one at the end, and so maybe that's why you're feeling that way. I felt like the first time you see him play in the big, like, international. Like, I felt like that was more exciting to me than the end, because I felt like there was other emotions I had going into that ending thing. And I think I was almost not that I wasn't paying attention to the match, but I think I was thinking, and I'm sure this was intentional, I was thinking about all the stuff that we had kind of led up to everything that had led up to that point. His interaction with Milton Rockwell and what he was doing. And you're like, and the stuff that he's doing at the end, you're like, oh, dude, like, this is bad. This is like a bad idea, which is par for the course for Marty Mauser. Like, he's making bad decisions left and right.
Yeah.
And I just was like, you know what I mean? Like, so I don't know if maybe that. I mean, I don't know if that, I'm not trying to speak for you, but I don't know if that played a factor, because I definitely did not feel like, I didn't get that sports feeling that you get when the big game at the end.
Right.
It was definitely, it felt different.
No, I'll talk about this now. That's one of the notes I wrote, was like, he won the big game, but the game didn't matter.
Yeah.
And you weren't really sure how much he understood that.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to say, I want to beat the guy who beat me in an exhibition game, and, like, I'll throw away the money I'm going to get from this Penn guy. At least I'm fucking his wife or whatever. But the game literally didn't matter. Yeah. It's not like he went to Tokyo and he faced him in the finals, and
that's the John Travolta,
right? And then beat him. A lot of facing and beating, but he. Like, when he falls on the ground and he's exuberant and stuff, it's like, well, you're feeling it, but I'm not feeling it, and it's okay. I'm not supposed to feel it. You're a dickhead, but, like, it reaches the peak. It's not the same as Rocky gets to the big match and loses, because it mattered. Yeah, it didn't matter.
It's actually unsatisfying to see it at the end when he wins, because you're kind of like, dude, right? Like, so what?
Right, because it's not about. Like, the match doesn't matter. It's about who's in the match.
And he gave up so much.
Right.
He humiliated himself.
Yeah.
That whole scene where he gets beat on his bare ass with the paddle.
Kevin O'Leary makes my skin crawl.
I know. I'm going to talk about that too, because I hate that.
But there's a lot of really there's a lot of really stuff that has nothing to do with the sports part, but has things, because it's like ambition is an extremity of humanity, and there's a bunch of stuff in the movie that has nothing to do with ping pong or even with Marty directly. Like that story that his friend told him, which is Marty Reisman said, there's another ping pong player who's a Holocaust survivor. He's told this story, like this is a true story.
Yeah.
Who was the basis of the story of the guy who covered himself in honey and went back to the camp, and then the other inmates licked the honey off of him. So that's either like, is that like funny and weird, or is that like the power of survival and finding a way to support other people when you're all suffering, blah, 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 blah. Is Marty supposed to relate to that? Like what Marty's doing is not as important as helping other people survive.
I know. I kind of felt like that was, to me, I almost felt like to parade that story out, like, because he's like, hey, tell him that story, story. But it was like, I felt like for him to make him tell that story, the other guy to tell that story, that it was sort of like there was something almost distasteful about that. Yeah. Where it was like, that's that guy's
distasteful how he's using it, you mean?
Yes. Yes. That for Marty, it's like, that's a shitty person. That's a shitty thing to do for someone that has a personal story that is probably very traumatizing. And, I couldn't imagine, like, if I went through something that'd be like, like, I don't know, there was a car accident with a close family member, and I did something like that was very traumatic to make sure that they survived. And then somebody was like, hey, tell them that story that you did that thing where you lifted the car off of your dying aunt or something like that. And I'd be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And that's how, but it didn't mean anything to him. If to him it was like, this is a weird, quirky story.
I mean, it's a wild story, yeah.
I mean, it is.
It's allegedly true, although I don't know how much you can trust Marty Reisman anymore than some of these other people.
Yeah, and I just think, what I do think is interesting as a character of Marty Mauser is that you set up this character who is who's really good at something that in the grand scheme of things that most people probably don't care. So that's why I think it's good for character building, because I think it's a way to create this like entitled underdog, because it's like, think about like if you were really good at building card like houses, like that's great. Like there's nobody out there can build a card house better than me. But who gives a shit? You know what I mean?
Well, okay, so that there's another movie that this movie made me think of, and I'm not saying I don't think Marty Supreme was bad or disappointing or anything, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Marty Supreme for not being like this movie that I'm about to say. But one of my favorite documentaries, I don't know if you've seen it. It's called The King of Kong: A Fistful of Quarters.
Yeah. Okay.
And so that is a true story about these guys vying for the Donkey Kong world record.
Yes.
And it has Billy the hot sauce guy, who is the villain and who cheats, and it's got the governing body of all the nerds who track everything and watch the videos and all this kind of stuff, and then it's got our hero who like is in his garage just playing Donkey Kong obsessively, probably something diagnosable there, and but it's like, who cares who's the Donkey Kong world champion? Except some people, you want to find something and you say, you know what? I'm going to be the best at that. I can do that. And it isn't necessarily something that a lot of other people even care about. Like you see people like, oh, they got the Guinness World Record for the most amount of full soda cans made into this shape and hung from a tree. Like, I guess nobody did that before, so they have a record.
Or even like the hot dog eating contest.
Right.
But I mean, ridiculous.
If you get something out of it, like, you know, I mean, you're not, if you want to eat 60 hot dogs in 60 seconds, I mean, I'd rather enjoy like 2. But if you want to do that, I don't like, you're an adult, you can do that. It's your decision. That's fine. And you will get some notoriety for it. Like I do a lot in weightlifting, and I do a lot of like grip weightlifting stuff. And there's all these little specific things. You can pick an implement that is very hard to lift weight with. And you can say like, here's all the people that have had the world record. There's like a few dozen people.
Yeah.
You want to get on that list? Yeah. You could. It's going to take real work, but you could do that. You could have the world record in this, in the Little Bighorn lift, in your weight class or something. Do you, Scott, give a shit about grip weightlifting? No. If I tell you I got a world record in this implement, you would be like, hey, good job, man. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
But that's okay. You know, Marty Supreme is like, I will destroy everyone's life.
Yeah.
I don't care to get to this goal. And it's like, I don't even know that he cares about being good at ping pong. He cares about being the greatest.
Yeah.
And that's so broad to be supreme. I think it's harder for me to be sympathetic to him the way I am to somebody who like basically seems like a decent guy who just really wants to be the best at Donkey Kong.
I mean, honestly, and this is, and certainly when I say that, I'm not trying to downplay like table tennis because I love.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not knocking that.
I have my own table. I love. I mean, my grandfather was really good at table tennis. He's the one that taught me. He was, you know, we used to go to like he would take me to like rec centers. He was so my grandfather, when he was in the army, this is funny. He would play guys. He would play guys that would actually that were using regular paddles. He would use a coffee mug. He would use the bottom of a coffee mug to beat guys. And there was one guy that was this is a great story. There was one guy in his unit that would talk trash about playing ping pong and how much better he was. And when my grandfather beat him, he said the guy actually started like sniffling like he was going to cry and walked off. And that made me laugh. And the thing about it, if you know my grandfather's not the type of guy. He's not a Marty Mauser type at all. He's not the type of person. He never would like to rub it in. He'll just do what he does. He's not like, and he's not like a trash. I get that from him. I'm not like a trash talker.
You can be excellent. It has nothing to do with humiliating your opponent.
But it is funny. Like so that's why I personally I love table tennis. So I did like watching some of the stuff. Although there were a few times in the beginning, like in the early part when I was watching him, I was like, now apparently Timothée Chalamet, like he was like from 2018. That's when he started training like ping pong to be really good at this.
Yeah, I said when I was watching this with my wife, I said, was this like a 2.5 month, 8 hour a day ping pong boot camp? Because he's selling me that he knows it. And there were a few things. You're saying it was years.
There were a few things though that I was watching in the beginning. Like once we got later into the movie, I was like, okay, that looks. But there was a few things I was like, I don't know, because they mostly did him actually playing, but they did a few. They did do a few special effects shots, but for the most part, it was him. There was a couple of times where he was doing. I was like, he shouldn't be hitting it like that.
Well, if you want him to hit it like that, then we're talking about the Gwyneth Paltrow storyline.
So I know, yeah, really. Hey, that's another thing. Speaking of the acting, I forgot Gwyneth Paltrow could actually act.
She's great in this.
She's actually really good.
She's great.
She doesn't just play Tony Stark's girlfriend or sell.
She also ran his company, Scott.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Or you know, steamer vagina. I don't you know she does other things besides.
She's really good.
She's actually really good
in the movie. She's really good, and
she should do more stuff like that.
Well, I mean, her relationship with her shitty husband,
who the Coldplay guy,
Kevin O'Leary, in the movie.
Can I tell you, I was not making a joke. I legitimately thought that's what you meant.
I don't know if Chris Martin is good or bad. I don't know if Chris Paltrow is good or bad. I don't know them personally, but
that is too funny. I really thought you were talking about, like, I thought you meant real life.
But you talk about, like, she's an actress who was a movie star that people recognize, and then she got married to a guy who clearly was like, I'm going to marry a movie star, and then you're not going to work anymore. Like, she's living a life of opulence and comfort and all these things, and she's living the boring life. Her life is boring to her in the way that I think Marty is running from.
Yeah.
So that made it more plausible that she'd be like, yeah, I'll sleep with this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get involved with this guy. Like, he's going down on her in the park.
Probably makes it more.
She's not
exciting.
saying. Yeah, she's not saying like we can't have sex outside.
Yeah.
She's saying, oh no, the police see us. Both of which are legitimate concerns. But I mean, he is not a sweep her off her feet, change her life kind of guy. No. She's just like, let's just do something that keeps me feeling like I'm awake or something. Because then she has a play. So now this is her big comeback. Yeah. And the last time we see her, she's weeping because she got a bad review.
Yeah. So just to go back real quick, Timothée Chalamet, he trained in table tennis from 2018 onward. Apparently during COVID, he was like in his apartment, he was just like practicing the whole time. And he actually worked with former U.S. Olympian. It looks like Wei Wang. I think that's WEI.
I'm not gonna Wei Wang. I'm not gonna
Wei Wang.
pretend. I'm not gonna pretend to be familiar with the luminaries of the ping pong.
Sure.
World. I
now I will
respect
say
their athleticism,
I do know,
but I don't know who they are.
I do know that the Safdie brothers are very big on casting non-actors.
Oh, they sure are.
And they cast Kevin O'Leary. I hate that guy. I will go on record. I do not like that guy at all. But the funny thing is, he was apparently cast because he's known for being an asshole.
Yeah, he was good.
That's what got him cast. And let me say, perfect casting
was
for
good.
being an asshole. He did. I mean, he did a good job. But I think it's mainly because he's playing himself.
Well, when the cast names were coming up at the beginning of the movie,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, really? Oh, Larry Ratso Sloman? Like, it was just really crazy, all these people.
Sloman.
And then, it was, that's why I said at the beginning, it's such a New York movie, such
Yeah.
a Jewish New York movie, all these faces, all this kind of stuff, which leads us to the section of the movie that I wasn't bored with it or anything, but it felt quite detached from the rest of the movie in terms of like veering away from ping pong, which was Abel Ferrara's dog.
Yeah.
Abel Ferrara is...
He's wacky.
He is shockingly compelling.
Yeah.
He's
you mean as the character? I thought you meant just Abel Ferrara
as a
general.
person, he is actually. I don't want to spend any time near him personally. He seems like a lot, but I mean, he's Conan O'Brien's worst guest ever.
Yeah.
If you ever look up that clip,
Yeah, I've heard that. I've never watched
I mean,
it.
it's on YouTube. You can find it. Like he basically. It's one thing to say, oh, he showed up drunk. Or he didn't talk. Like you could have an interview with Robert De Niro where he just doesn't talk much.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, now
I've seen a few of those.
Yeah, I'm the talk show host. I'm kind of working to get stuff out of him. I mean, it's not fun like when Harrison Ford doesn't talk, because when Harrison Ford
he
smirks
did
and then
the
talks,
joke.
right, he's having a good time.
Yeah.
But Abel Ferrara, and the Conan thing, he's just really drunk and not cooperative. And his performance in this movie, it's like a powerhouse.
Yeah.
Like he's really monstrous. I wasn't super shocked that he pulled a knife on someone.
Yeah.
Like he's a monster. He's actually
I think
scary.
he would do that in real life.
Well, kind of.
My favorite thing.
America's
Harrison Ford.
Werner Herzog.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't. No, you take that back. He is not America's Werner.
I meant as a personal presence.
Maybe okay.
Not as a filmmaker.
yeah.
I like Abel Ferrara movies. I like, especially King of New York is really good.
King of New York's
Walken.
really King of New York. Actually, it's funny because I do feel like that movie stands out like as from his other movies.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Because I feel like his other movies are like. Anyway, I don't want to go.
Listen, I'll go on record and say I enjoy Werner Herzog's Bad Lieutenant sequel more than I enjoy Abel Ferrara's Bad Lieutenant.
That's wacky.
And also Werner Herzog is everyone knows him from his most famous role in The Mandalorian. So
yes, because he wants to see the baby. I love Harrison. Speaking of Star Wars, and I won't stay too long on this, but Harrison Ford, my favorite, in the interview when someone asked him if Han shot first, and he goes, "I don't care."
Yeah.
You know what I thought was very interesting? Now, I didn't actually have this in my notes, but I saw someone talking about the directing style of Josh Safdie in this movie, and this is something that, I mean, I don't know if it's true. I usually try to most of the stuff that I talk about, I try to verify as much as I can before I talk about it. I can't verify.
You just ask ChatGPT.
I could. Well, because I'll definitely get a 100% accurate answer. But I can't verify 100% if this is true or not. But it wouldn't surprise me based on his directing style. Those scenes that are out in New York City streets, he apparently, or anything where there's lots of extras, apparently he tells each one of the extras, like, this is what's going on when you're in this scene.
Oh, wow.
And that there's a scene that this is like, I saw this, like, it was a podcast, but it was like one of the, like, it wasn't like this wasn't a podcast like us, like in the basement doing. Not there's anything wrong with that, but I'm saying this was something like the rewatchables or
my friend did say, well, how do you describe a podcast? I said, it's a radio show that no one listens to.
Yeah. but I think it was like, it might have been like the guys on
The
Ringer.
Ringer.
I shouldn't say the guys because there are women in this.
Well, when you said the guys, I took that as a colloquial group of people. Not,
but I think it
penises.
might have been on what is it, The Big Picture? They said that, I think it was on that one, but they said that he told, like, one of the women, he on the New York City street scene that Josh Safdie, like, this is just an example that one of the extras, who didn't have a line or anything like that, but it's just one of those scenes where Marty's running, like when he's running away from the cops. Mm-hmm. He said, you're walking down the street, you just left your apartment, you got into a fight with your husband, and you guys don't normally fight. Like I'm like, It's such a simple bit of direction.
Yeah.
But I think it helps. That does help the people in the scene. Like they have some kind of purpose.
It's the world building.
Because I've done stuff where I was. A friend of mine did like this horror movie, and I just had, it was me and another guy were walking down. I mean, luckily it was somebody I was friends with, so I was comfortable like talking to him about. But we were just walking down the hallway in a school, and people don't realize it's very easy to look freaking stupid and draw attention to yourself unintentionally as an extra. So we were walking down, and we were just like, hey. And especially if you're with somebody you don't know. So luckily it was somebody else that I know that actually does act. And he was like, because we'll just be talking about something in this book. Like, and we kind of just having that little kernel of something. And I think, I do feel like those scenes in those streets where there's lots of extras or like in the arenas, like there's something that does feel real about it that maybe you can't put your finger on. And maybe it's that. I don't know. Maybe it's not that, but maybe it is. Anyway, that was a little thing that I thought was, that I thought was a little interesting bit. I was going to get a little more into the technical part, unless you had something more about like story stuff. Because I wanted to talk a little bit. Just one thing I wanted to mention about directing.
Yeah, I mean, as far as behind the scenes stuff,
because that's where I was going to go.
Right, I want to make sure we talk about the music as well.
Oh, sure, yeah, no, definitely, yeah, I definitely want to talk about. Yeah, can't. So, you got to talk about this movie.
Go ahead.
One of the things I was going to talk about with the directing was that. So Josh Safdie and Ronald is it Bronstein? Stein. I always like to make. Ever since I saw Young Frankenstein, I'm very sensitive to that.
I'm a reader, so I get it.
But anyway, they what they did was while they were because he was the writer, but for anybody that wasn't clear on what Ronald Bronstein's
he wrote the screenplay.
Yes, well I think they wrote it together, but him and Josh
co-wrote the screenplay.
Yes, so but him and Josh did not watch any dailies during production. They just basically did every day they shot because they said they felt like when they would go in to look at the footage to edit it, it would help them be more like efficient and more brutal when it came to cutting stuff out, as opposed to doing, because I think, and I kind of think that's actually kind of a smart way, because if you're doing it as you're going along, you're probably already starting to make mental notes every day. But if you're looking at it as a whole, going in there and just doing it, looking at the whole thing, I could see how that's going to give you a little more of a fresh perspective, because you're probably not going to remember stuff that you did on day 1 or day 10 even. Right. Especially if it's like a shoot that lasts a couple months. So that was I thought that was an interesting approach to the style of the directing and editing. But hey, let's talk about the cinematography. So it's and I knew this guy's name. And I said it because we talked about it because he shot Eddington as well. Darius Khondji, that's what it was.
He shot a lot of stuff over the years. He shot
7, and it's funny because when I watched some of those interior scenes in the outside in like New York City scenes, and some of the interior scenes, I did get kind of a 7 vibe from some of that. After I saw that he did that, I was thinking back. I was like, because it's sort of that dark, that inky kind of look. Although I do feel like there's more of a vintage look to I mean, intentionally, obviously, because I do know they did use vintage Panavision anamorphic lenses to recreate the 1950s look. That's cool. But I do feel like there is something about those city scenes that did remind me of 7, and it's like, well, no wonder. Look, that's the guy who shot 7. And he also did Uncut Gems too.
Yeah, I was gonna say he shot Uncut Gems, and he
did all the Safdie brothers stuff, I think.
And he shot the Janae and Caro movies, Delicatessen, City of Lost Children, Alien Resurrection.
Oh, really?
I mean, he's a very obviously very extraordinarily talented and good cinematographer, but he's also, there's certain these guys you can be like, oh, I can tell who shot that because of the way it looks, and they are achieving the career levels doing that because they're working with people who that's serving the story.
Yeah.
And it's the right fit for this movie. Because, again, we've said this before. I mean, every time you make anything in a movie, in a book, in a story, it's always making choices, which is what Wonder Boys is about also.
Yeah.
And, they make it's you can decide if you like it or not, but it's a very consistent set of storytelling and production choices for this movie.
Yeah.
Which was exactly my experience with Uncut Gems.
Sure.
And certainly with really distinct stuff like Janae and Caro movies.
When they were using these anamorphic lenses, and I don't know if anybody, but like when anamorphic lenses sort of heightens those lens flares, a kind of, I mean, I don't know how, I mean, it's probably the best way to explain it to someone that's not familiar with that sort of thing. But because of that, when they would do, because they did a lot of extreme close-ups, that was sort of, and they were using that as like a thematic tool, and that when they did that, the way that it would kind of like the edges, and I actually didn't notice this, but maybe I guess the idea is that it was connecting on some kind of subconscious level, that it was making the edges blur a little bit blurry whenever they would do close-ups on Marty, and the idea that thematically what they were trying to do was sort of mimic the tunnel vision that Marty had in his pursuit of his goal.
Oh, okay.
So whether or not that worked or not, I don't know. I can't say. You know, sometimes you hear about what the intention was for some of these technical choices that they make as far as storytelling goes, and you go, oh, I didn't get that at all. I can't say I didn't feel that way. So I guess maybe it worked.
Well, I mean, to me, it is what you feel or don't feel. Like you can watch Mad Max Fury Road and know nothing about how it was made and what lenses they used or any of that kind of stuff, but you feel what you're supposed to feel. Like I generally, when I see a movie that is allegedly a one take movie, and like they're not. Yeah. And somebody walks across the camera and that's where the cut was hidden. And that the fact that it's not really one take doesn't bother me. But generally the way that those are shot, it's very, very distracting. Like The Revenant and the lens choices that they make and the angles of it. And I just, it takes me out of the story to the point where it's hard for me to find anything compelling in it. But then there's 1917, which the decisions they made on how to shoot the one or the uncut take.
Yeah, I think
it
that
just
that
worked.
had had very few cuts though. I think it was true, but I think it only had like 3.
But whatever it has more than you think.
Okay.
But it's literally like I don't remember off the top of my head what millimeter lenses they used or whatever, but the choices that they made.
Bruce Willis would be so upset.
I know. But what they did for me watching it, I got immediately past all the stuff that puts me off that kind of storytelling cinematography choice. And so I think it's cool that it can be done. Like you could say like, I don't like movies that are dark. It's just too dark. This movie is dark. Like it looks dark, but it doesn't look dark in the way that usually is bothersome.
I feel like there are a lot of cinematographers that just, when it comes to shooting dark, they just don't get, like they don't like they're not, put it this way, they're not doing it in a way that's pleasing to me. And I know that they're not shooting for me, but I just think in general, I can't be the only person that's like,
well, they are shooting for you.
Well, yeah,
you're the audience.
But
now,
if
10 people watch it and you're one of the 2 people that doesn't like it, that doesn't mean that they failed. But I think you are also someone who can engage with it, and you can say, I see what they're doing. It's not working for me, which is different than this is dumb, it doesn't work, or whatever.
I can't see anything.
Right.
But Darius Khondji, he did but what I was saying before about the them as an intentional story, a thematic story choice to do those close-ups and have them look a certain way. I can't say that I didn't feel that way. So as far as I'm concerned, that's a win, because I didn't say, oh no, I didn't, because there's sometimes, I know we talk about like they used this director as a visual reference, Terrence Malick as a visual reference. You're like, they did? Like,
right, yeah, that's
I'm
true.
like, okay, I mean, I guess, but like I don't feel that way with this. Also, the thing that I find is that I remember when we did the Eddington when we did that episode, not only could he do dark very well, Eddington had a lot of intentionally very bright scenes. And so this guy, obviously he's a professional, but I mean, this guy's good. I mean, if he doesn't have a specific style that he just, he's kind of locked into, and that's, he's not known as like the dark guy, what I mean? So that did not sound right. He's not known as the dark lighting guy.
If you tell me this is the same guy that shot Janae and Cara movies. He shot Seven and Panic Room for Fincher.
Would you say it was a Lost City of Children? He did
The
that
City of Lost Children, Delicatessen, and
because I know that's
and
got
Alien Resurrection.
that's so much dark. It's very like the saturation is very a lot in that one.
And this is the like what we're talking about. If you haven't seen Marty Supreme, what we're talking about isn't just that like it's dark. It's like that. Some of it even has almost a film noirish kind of like very deliberate inky blackness that the characters' faces come out of and stuff. And that's not only a decision, that's you have to know what you're doing kind of decision. You have to be very good at it. But the fact that he has those distinct looks, and he did these several movies for this director, and these several movies for that director, and these several movies for that director, they're all clearly by somebody who's talented. But I couldn't have told you, oh yeah, Seven is definitely shot by the guy who did City of Lost Children.
Sure.
Which is really cool because he can find that style and he can make it work. And so the fact that this felt like Uncut Gems to me, and then it was shot by the same guy, okay, that's part of it.
And then also, even like the dark scenes, like
shot by the same guy for the same directors.
But even like the scenes within the movie itself, like the interior dark scenes look different than the dark scene like outside the farmhouse towards the end when they're shooting when they go to get the dog, like that looks
crazy.
That looks different too. There's a certain look to that. It doesn't look as inky because it's outside. I guess. I guess that's what they were going for.
It's not stylized dark.
Yeah.
It's some of the ping pong stuff. If you weren't into the movie at all, you'd be like, why don't they turn the lights on so they can watch the sports kind of thing? But it doesn't feel that way when you're watching it.
Yeah,
but it's a farmhouse at night in the country, and the gas station that lit everything up is now burned out. So yeah, it feels like night, which is good because if you don't do day for night right, then it's really distracting.
Well, yeah, because I felt like the interior scenes, the dark interior scenes. I mean, the backgrounds almost look like paintings, and in a good way. And anyway, I also something that we don't normally talk about, but I think it's interesting to note because
craft services.
The production design that they did. I mean, we don't talk about that too often, but like the lengths that they went through, and I've heard that Josh Safdie's he's kind of obsessive about it. He sounds like he's kind of like in the style of Fincher, like really wants to get things, he wants to get it right. And by doing that, he's really he's really into the details. And that when they did like the garbage on the streets in New York, like they would wet it down so it had a certain smell just to kind of help the actors. Like that was crazy. And also,
I'm not going to ask what they wet it with.
But actually, so Jack Fisk was the production designer. He's nominated for 3 Oscars, and he also did the design for Mulholland Drive and There Will Be Blood. And he
those are good movies.
And yeah, I've heard of those. And he also, this is how specific he got. They sourced period accurate ping pong balls because apparently the ping pong balls in the 1950s were a different size.
It's funny you say that because I kind of wondered, like I don't know about it and I didn't know enough to like go and look it up or anything. But there's clearly some transition happening in the sport in terms of both paddle technique and paddle material, and like there's the spongy one and then there's other ones, and I was like, I wonder if that's where this movie is going, because I mean, Marty seems to think at the beginning when you first meet him, like he's really innovating. Like imagine, like this is not a white ball in front of a white shirt.
Yeah.
Like that could actually make an impact on the sport. Which, by the way, if it did, and everybody played with Marty Supreme ping pong balls, that doesn't have anything to do with him being good at the sport.
Yeah.
So I was just sort of wondering where is it going to go, and then of course where it went is fuck you guys and threw it out the window because Marty did his whole Marty thing just too much, and then we never saw them again. Yeah, so it was interesting.
It's funny because I actually so I woke up this morning. So my son, like, I have a ping pong table, and I was we were just talking about this earlier before we started recording. Was that my ping pong table has these little rubber things on the corners that where you can stow away like I think it's like 3. I think it's like 2 or 3 ping pong balls on each corner, and my son had taken out. I actually have a couple orange ones. So when I was like, it's almost like a sign. Like I woke up this morning and one of the orange balls was on the floor of my bedroom. I was like, oh, that's a sign.
There you go.
So
that's funny.
why don't we talk about? I know you wanted to talk about the sound and the music and everything like that. Mainly the music. So why don't we talk about that?
It does something that it does actually two versions of something that it can be very hard to pull off, which is like clearly, deliberately anachronistic music.
Yes.
And there are movies that have done that and have done that successfully, and there are movies that what was the God damn it, the Brian Helgeland movie with Heath Ledger. It was the Middle Ages movie.
A Knight's Tale.
A Knight's Tale.
Yes.
That had like contemporary music in it.
The Romeo and Juliet. Well, I think that was that.
That sort of thing, or
true,
Moulin Rouge.
set.
Like that's Baz Luhrmann's whole. Like, there's nothing real about that.
That's true.
This is like we're watching a movie set in the 1950s with characters in the 1950s, and then they're playing music that's from decades later, and it works.
Yeah,
and the score was like that. It does. Yeah, it was very. It was.
I'd heard about this before.
It didn't distract. I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah, I heard about that. So I was already I had my arms crossed. Like,
I get it.
We'll see. We'll see.
I dig the score of the movie too, but the score also feels like synthy, psychedelic 70s, 80s stuff, and so they're doing two different kinds of anachronistic.
Have you listened to
music.
the score independently? I downloaded it,
and
I like it.
It seemed like I'm going to definitely check it out, but I don't think it'll make me cry like Project Hail Mary score. But the fact that they were doing deliberately two anachronistic music things, not sound design specific, but music things.
Yes,
I wasn't loving the movie in general, but that didn't take me out of it. I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. That's a cool chance that they took. That talk about choices. Like that's an interesting choice that they made.
There's
at the same time.
The two scenes there is when they play the Peter Gabriel song. Apparently Peter Gabriel loved the fact that they used that Contact song of his. I thought that was like that little montage. Well, I mean, most of those songs are done as montages, and I thought that was done really well. And then there's an instrumental part of I forget what the New Order song is that they did, and that was like. I don't think it's Love Vigilantes. I forget which one it is, but anyway, I thought that was really good.
This movie and Wonder Boys, that's 2 weeks in a row. There's so much music. You watch the credits and it just keeps going and going and going. But this movie has lots of songs you would have never expected to be in it. Which is
I was definitely like because we went out. Jane and I went out to dinner with some friends of ours, and my friend was like, hey, "Have you seen the movie?" Because they saw it in the theaters, and they were like, "Have you seen it?" And they're like, "They use all these '80s songs." She goes, "It's kind of cool," and I was like, "We'll see." and then I was like, "Okay," I said, "This works." I think what it is, when you have stuff like that, sort of like what I talked about, like Ryan Coogler, and I'm not putting this on the same level as Ryan Coogler's barn burning scene, music through the ages of Sinners.
I mean, you shouldn't, but that doesn't mean everything less than that is bad.
But I think what it is when you take big swings like that, I think a lot of it has to do with the confidence and commitment to that idea is what makes the difference. And I don't feel like they're ever timid about that. I feel like they were like, hey, we're going to do this and we're going all in. It wasn't like they threw like one song. It wasn't like they threw a Tears for Fears song in and like, and it's like, because I think if they did something like that, you'd go, that was kind of weird. They put that song.
Yeah, that would be distracting. Yeah.
I mean, but the fact that they did it and it was like part of the soundtrack, and it's just the way that goes through. I think it's the commitment to the idea that makes you go, okay, I can get on board with this. Because sometimes you forget when you're watching that, you're like, oh, wait a minute, this movie's set in the 50s. There was a couple times I kind of forgot because of the soundtrack.
And there's nothing else in the movie that takes you out of that to the point where, like, we're talking about the production design and I'm confident that if somebody on that set was like, listen, all the paper that we're wetting down, it has to be made from these materials, because the materials that we would get now, they didn't use those materials after, before 1968. So we have to get the authentic paper. And I'd be like, I don't need to know any of that, but I believe it. It worked. I believe it. Yeah. There's so much stuff in the movie Titanic. They went out of their way to make sure that every single dish in the set was exactly like it was on the ship.
Yeah.
So when I watch the movie, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah.
So I'm not impressed by that. But if you wanted me to believe that I was watching the Titanic, that's as much a part of it as anything else. And so this movie is really into those kinds of details.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there are things you could say about Timothée Chalamet's mustache and glasses and things like that too, because I'm sure the costume design is very interesting. Like there's a lot of really great pieces of it.
I've heard that, and I don't know if this is true. This is one of those things I heard, so I haven't had time to verify that when it came to the glasses, I heard, this sounds crazy if this is true, that Timothée Chalamet with collaborating with Josh Safdie on this, that he wore contact lenses that messed with his eyes, and that the corrective lenses that he wore fixed it, like because they wanted to use real corrective lenses. And I'm like, if that's what they really did, if they really did that,
that sounds idiotic.
I know. It's like,
Christ.
I was like, I've never watched. I mean, if you don't use lenses, I'll notice that. But if you use lenses, I'm not really to the point where I'm like, oh, those aren't corrective lenses. I mean,
right?
Like, what?
I've never seen anybody and been like, those glasses they are prism short.
Yeah,
for what he's acting.
Now I'm thinking that's probably one of those like urban legends that surround this movie. Possibly, I can't believe that's true, but maybe, who knows?
Well, listen, I mean, sometimes stuff happens in real life. Like this movie is about the ambition to win.
Yes,
and it loses.
Yes,
he loses. The movie got 9 Oscar nominations.
Yeah,
and lost all of them.
Well, I think it's because he said he didn't like opera and ballet.
Whatever, but
we
like
will punish you for
thematically
that.
To the end.
No,
of the process,
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. I got you. But that is definitely I mean, this movie is. I do think that this movie. You're right. It is because it kind of felt like he did seem like when he was when Timothée Chalamet was going on this tour. This press tour for he was acting a little crazy, a little bit. He was acting a little wacky. I mean, he wasn't acting Marty Supreme level,
no,
but he was acting. I mean, like the one part where he was like, wasn't he on top of the sphere and like doing like some promotion? It was very. I was like, whoa, what is this guy doing?
He's having a good time.
Hey, you can't.
I don't blame him for that.
Yeah. So, but I think overall, I mean, I think this movie is. It was definitely. I feel like they did what they set out to do. I think it's like. I mean, is it a movie that I'll be like, oh man, I can't wait till this comes out on 4K or anything? No, I mean, it's not like some movie that I would buy. But if it was on TV, I'd probably watch it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's that level of where I am with this movie. So I mean, I like it.
It's like a TNT movie for you. If it came on, you just keep watching it.
I mean,
a lot of movies are TNT movies that are very good movies.
I would want to watch it if it was. I'd rather watch it. I mean, I like it. I like it enough where I'd actually want to watch it on cable.
Without ads.
Yes.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, there you go. So it's a little bit above TNT.
That's fair.
But I don't want to purchase it.
I got it.
How about that?
That's fair.
That's where I am on that. Was there anything else?
Yeah, one other thing.
Yes.
I just remembered. I should have said this before. I wish this was a joke because it tells you how out of touch I am with sports and things. But I remember when I found out that it was Kevin Garnett in Uncut Gems, I thought it was funny that his name was a gem. But
God, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah,
that's a good. Yeah, I guess you just sometimes you hear people's names that unless their last name is like Diamond or Gold, you know what I mean. You don't really think of that.
Yeah, I mean, I genuinely think he's a great example of using a non-actor in these movies. He's great in that, playing himself essentially.
The guy that plays the friend, the one whose house they stay at,
the son of the business.
Yes, yeah. What was his name?
I can't remember.
I can't remember his name. That guy, the way they found him, he apparently was
the big heavy guy.
Yeah, he was apparently he did some video on Instagram or some social media where he was like yelling, I believe, at some sports team. Maybe it was the Knicks. I can't remember, but it was like him like screaming or whatever. That's how they found him.
Okay.
And they just contacted him that way. They're like,
that's funny.
You want to be in a movie? I thought Tyler, the creator, I thought he was good for, and I mean, he's a performer too. So that
was very good.
Yes.
He was very good.
And trust me, as we know.
I actually didn't recognize him. I thought that guy really looks like Mos Def. And then I was like, oh, that's why.
If you've ever seen, and if you've ever seen any Madonna movie, being a performer doesn't always translate into being a good actor.
That is certainly true.
Oh my gosh, he's so bad.
So one last thing I wanted to mention. One of my favorite actors he's been in a bunch of good stuff. I've always found him very memorable in it. He's not like a leading man or anything. But Emery Cohen, who plays Ira.
Okay.
We didn't even talk about how Marty knocked up his girlfriend.
Yeah, I know.
And then was basically going to abandon it.
I know.
We'll do a part 2 one day.
But he was. I mean, that was the thing at the end too. It was like it sort of gives you a little bit of hope. Although I know,
except I don't give a shit about him.
Yeah, that's true. But you do wonder. Well, I think I gave more shit about his kid.
Well, sure,
and
yes.
I think that's what it was. Where it was like, I have hope.
You don't want an infant to have dreadful parents.
Yeah.
I believe.
Although I think you and I both know that. Excuse me.
You're choking on the truth there, buddy.
Is that wow? Is that having a kid doesn't snap you into line to be a responsible
it sure
adult?
Doesn't.
It definitely
sure
doesn't. So,
but yeah, so Emery Cohen plays Ira, who you actually think is more of a villain than he is for a chunk of the movie because his wife gets a black eye to the point where Marty responds very emotionally and beats him with a ping pong trophy, and it turns out the black eye was fake and all that kind of stuff. But Emery Cohen is he's Homer in the OA, which remains one of the great unfinished Netflix TV shows.
Okay.
He's in Brooklyn. He's in Place Beyond the Pines. He's in Roofman.
Place Beyond the Pines with Ryan Gosling?
Yes.
Okay.
But one of the things he's done recently that I really liked him in, he's one of Don Johnson's deputies in Rebel Ridge.
I gotta watch that. We should do
totally,
that.
That is a really. I mean, I just objectively, I think it's a very good movie.
I keep seeing the clip with him and Don with what's the guy
where he's disarming him.
Where it's like he's talking about pace.
Oh yeah.
That scene, I keep seeing that scene shows up in social media.
It's great.
Like, algorithms.
So Emery Cohen is one of the deputies, and he looks pretty much the same as he looks.
Yeah.
In this, he's kind of a thick, heavy guy.
That's him though,
yeah.
Because I know the part you're talking because in that scene they're showing him. It's like the woman's looking him up on Wikipedia and she's talking to him. That's that guy, right? That's by the door.
I think that's who she's talking to.
Because he's got a mustache and beard in that one, right?
I'd have to look. There's 2 cops in it. I'm not sure. I have to look. But yeah, I mean that Rebel Ridge is a really entertaining movie, and Emery Cohen is one of those actors to me that I always remember him. Like he doesn't have a huge role in Roofman, but I noticed him.
Okay,
he's very, very important in the OA. He's like one of the main characters that our lead character is trying to get back to over the course of the show. But
I like
he's
the
very
sequel,
compelling.
The OC.
I see. I never saw that one. I used to wear the T-shirts in the 80s, but I never saw that one.
The 90s, I think.
Was it OC 90s?
The OC?
No, I'm talking about the shirts.
Oh, you're talking about OP.
OP.
Yeah, that's the trilogy.
I don't know. I'm still learning about. I'm still learning about NBA.
So the OC was the that was I think it was actually early 2000s. It was one of the Welcome to the OC. It was like some stupid.
Was that the one that used the what was that song? Where they all shoot each other.
Yeah.
And then SNL did a great version of it.
Yes.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
Hey, what you say?
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one with the guy. What's his face? Ben. What's his, the one from Gotham?
Yes, and
Southland.
From Southland. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anyway.
All right.
So
Marty Supreme.
Marty Supreme. I say if you like ping pong, if you like Timothée Chalamet, I think if there's any aspect of this movie that you are interested in, I'd say watch it. It's definitely a movie that's worth. I think it's worth your time. Will you love it? I don't know, but I won't say that.
You know what I think it has?
What?
I mean, we've talked about a lot of this. I don't see myself revisiting this movie anytime soon.
Yeah.
There's some great performances.
Yeah,
like
sure.
Really, really compelling stuff.
Sure.
And we didn't talk about her that much, but like Gwyneth Paltrow alone is so great. And like I didn't remember she was in it. And then when she was in it, I was like, oh, I want more of her character. She was great.
I don't know how much, I don't know if it's solely the casting director or if it's, how much Josh Safdie worked with the casting director, but the casting, because even the Kevin O'Leary, who I hate, I can't deny.
Was very good.
He was very good.
Yeah.
He was well cast in this movie.
Did that get nominated for best casting?
I don't know. I forgot that was this year. I don't know.
If it did, it lost. So
yeah, I know. But anyway, I think that's probably going to be a wrap on Marty Supreme. Next week we'll be talking about Wonder Boys. Is it the Wonder Boys or
Wonder Boys?
Wonder Boys.
No, the article.
No, that will be easy to find. Well, I wanted to ask you: is there any story-related like recommendations or anything you're watching or reading or anything like that you want to put out there?
Related
the world?
to this or just in
independent
general?
of anything, just in general.
I really think it'll come out on I don't know when it comes out streaming. It'll come out on physical disc. I think August 11th. But if it's still playing, you should go see Project Hail Mary.
Okay, there you go.
What about you?
I just finished Pluribus.
Oh, okay.
I like that. It was it's definitely a different take on the apocalypse. Anything that you've ever seen about post-apocalypse, if you even can call it the apocalypse, I don't know what you would call it.
Don't spoil. I haven't seen it.
No, I
literally have no idea what it's about. I just know who wrote it.
And I will say that the very end of the last episode, you were like, damn, I gotta wait, because they're like, they don't know how long it's going to take before the second season comes out.
Well, that's our era, unfortunately.
No, but I mean, like, they've actually come out. It's bad when the creators say this might take a while. You're like, oh shit.
Well, you remember HBO basically told David Chase, listen, you take as long as you want. Like, how much would it cost for us to get you two more seasons of last two seasons of The Sopranos? Because he just wanted to be done.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, I don't know, $20 million. They're like, great, okay, we'll sign that deal and take as long as you want. So then you have like 19 months between seasons.
But look at the Pit. The Pit crazy. Like cranked out too. Like,
you can do it.
And then look at this is the funny example I always thought was that Stranger Things, between the final season and the previous season to the final season, The Bear had the whole 4 seasons happened in between that time. So
that's like why Rebecca Ferguson eventually dropped out of the last Mission Impossible movies, because she's like, you have to be available.
Yeah.
Available for something that you want to do, but you have to be available and not book other stuff for 3 years or something.
That's
and she did 2 seasons of Silo when they were doing the last Mission Impossible movie.
No,
I get it.
But I do think I think Pluribus is worth, but just going in, if you don't like weird sci-fi-ish, like mystery kind of like what's going on, you don't know exactly what's going on, then don't watch it. If you don't like that kind of stuff, if you're up for that kind of stuff, then watch it.
Was it like Severance, kind of like what's really going on kind of vibe, or?
Yeah, but not quite. I'm trying to think. Like, I don't know if I would say it's not like as deliberately like obtuse as I would say Severance is. This is sort of like you don't know what's going on and you're slowly finding. And I'll tell you what I like about it, and this is not to give anything away. What I will like about it is that I know with Jane and I when we were watching it, it was like we'd get to the end of an episode and we're like, well, wait a minute, well, how are they doing this thing? And then the next episode they're like, oh, they would address that thing. Like, and I love it when a series is like anticipating your question, like almost perfectly in time with, and that's how you're like, how are they doing this?
That's good.
And then you're like, oh, that's how they're doing that. Oh, and let me tell you, there is one of the best cameos from a professional wrestler I've.
Okay.
And that's all I'll say.
Is it The Miz?
I'm not going to say. That's going to say it's a professional wrestler makes the cameo. It's a professional wrestler who has done acting before. That's all I'll say. And that it's one of the it's a perfect cameo.
Is he as himself?
So yeah. Well, I can't say because that actually gives away something. But it does. Anyway, so but anyway, so this has been a long wrap up. I apologize. So anyway, I will say that you can follow us on storypunk.com, but also on your favorite podcast platform. We are on Instagram at storypunkpod and also on Facebook, and you can see our updates. I try to update on the day. I'm getting better about on the day that the podcast comes out, that I'm putting out a little promo clip for you to know that, hey, guess what? We have a new episode out. I am also on Letterboxd, so if you want to see little reviews that aren't an hour long, you can read those on Letterboxd. I am Storypunk Scott, and Drew is on Letterboxd as well.
Solid Gould.
Yes, and with that, I will say, and I will lower my voice as I say it, remember, story matters.